The author of the Quran has a bad habit of taking stories from other sources and then putting them in the Quran and passing them off as the words of God. I want to bring your attention one such instance, and I do encourage you to read this chapter of the Quran for yourself and also read the sources that I provide that explain where the author of the Quran got these stories from. So we're going to look at the story of Moses found in chapter 20, verse 9 through 40 of the Quran. And it says, "Has there come to you the story of Moses, when he saw a fire and said to his people, 'Indeed, wait, I see a fire far off. Perhaps I may bring you a brand, or may find guidance at the fire.' And when he reached it, he was called by name, 'O Moses, indeed it is I, your Lord. Take off your shoes, for indeed you are in the holy valley of Tawa. And I have chosen you to listen to what is inspired. Indeed, I and I alone am Allah. There is no God except me. So serve me and establish prayer for my remembrance. Indeed, the hour is actually coming, but I will to keep it hidden, so that every soul may be rewarded for what it strives for. Therefore, do not let him who does not believe in it turn you aside from it and follow his own desire, so that you do not perish. And what is that in your right hand, O Moses?' He said, 'This is my staff on which I lean, and with which I bring down branches for my sheep, and with which I find other uses.' He said, 'Throw it down, O Moses.' So he threw it down, and indeed it was a serpent gliding. He said, 'Grasp it and do not be afraid. We will return it to its former state. And thrust your hand under your armpit. It will come forth from you without harm.' Another sign, so that we may show you some of our greater signs. Go to Pharaoh. Indeed, he has transgressed. He said, 'My Lord, relieve my mind and make my task easy for me, and loosen the knot in my tongue, so that they may understand what I say. Appoint for me a helper from my people, Aaron my brother, confirmed my strength with him, and let him share my task, so that we may glorify you a great deal and remember you a great deal. Indeed, another time already we have shown you favor, when we inspired in your mother what is inspired, saying, throw him into the ark and throw it into the river, then the river will throw it onto the bank. And there an enemy to me and an enemy to him will take him, and I will fill you with love from me, so that you might be trained according to my will. When your sister went and said, shall I show you one who can nurse him? And we restored to you your mother, so that her eyes might be refreshed and might not sorrow. And you killed a man, and we delivered you from the great distress and tested you with a heavy trial, and you remained years among the people of Midian. Then you came here by providence, O Muhammad. Verse 9 through 12 is taken from Exodus chapter 3, verse 2 through 5, and it reads, Then the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire within a bush. As Moses looked, he saw that the bush was on fire, but it was not consumed. So Moses thought, I must go over and look at the remarkable sight. Why isn't the bush burning up? When the Lord saw that he had gone over to look, God called out from the bush, Moses, Moses. Here I am, he answered. Do not come closer, he said. Remove the sandals from your feet, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. Verse 13 is taken from Exodus chapter 3, verse 10. Therefore go, I am sending you to Pharaoh, so that you may lead my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. Verse 17 through 23 is taken from Exodus chapter 4, verse 2 through 8. The Lord asked him, "What is in your hand?" "A staff," he replied. "Throw it on the ground," he said. So Moses threw it on the ground, and it became a snake, and he ran from it. The Lord told Moses, "Stretch out your hand and grab it by the tail." So he stretched out his hand and he caught it, and it became a staff again in his hand. "This will take place," he continued, "so that they may believe that I am the Lord, the God of their ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." So we see here the Yahweh is the God of Jacob. But I want to continue on. It says, "has appeared to you. In addition, the Lord said to him, 'Put your hand in your cloak.' So he put his hand inside his cloak, and he took it out. His hand was diseased, resembling snow or leprosy." It says he put his hand back inside his cloak, and he said he took it out again, and it became like the rest of his skin. If they will not believe you and will not respond to the evidence of the first sign, they may believe the evidence of the second sign. Verses 27 through 31 is taken from Exodus chapter 4, verse 10 through 15, and it says, "But Moses replied to the Lord, 'Please, Lord, I have never been eloquent, neither in the past or recently or since you have been speaking to your servant, because my mouth and my tongue are sluggish.' The Lord said to him, 'Who placed a mouth on humans? Who makes a person mute or deaf, seeing or blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go, I will help you speak, and I will teach you what to say.' Moses said, 'Please send someone else.' Then the Lord's anger burned against Moses, and he said, Isn't Aaron the Levite your brother? I know that he can speak well, and also he is on his way now to meet you. He will rejoice when he sees you. You will speak with him and tell him what to say. I will help both you and him to speak, and will teach you both what to do." Verse 37 through 40 of chapter 20 of the Quran is taken from Exodus chapter 2, verse 2 through 10. It says, "The woman became pregnant and gave birth to a son. When she saw that he was beautiful, she hid him for 3 months. But when she could no longer hide him, she got a papyrus basket for him and coated it with asphalt and pitch. So she placed the child in it and set it among the reeds by the bank of the Nile. Then his sister stood at a distance in order to see what would happen to him. Pharaoh's daughter went down to bathe at the Nile while her servant girl was walking along the riverbank. She saw the basket among the reeds, and she sent her servant girl over there to take it, and she opened it, and she saw the child. And there he was, a little boy, crying. She felt sorry for him and said, 'This is one of the Hebrew boys.' Then his sisters said to Pharaoh's daughter, 'Should I go and call a Hebrew woman who is nursing to nurse the boy for you?' 'Go,' Pharaoh's daughter told her. So the girl went and called the boy's mother. Then Pharaoh's daughter said to her, 'Take this child and nurse him for me, and I will pay your wages.' So the woman took the boy and nursed him. When the child grew older, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses because she drew him out of the water." And the end of verse 40 is actually taken from Exodus chapter 2, verse 11 through 15. It says, "Years later, after Moses had grown up, he went out to his own people and observed their forced labor. He saw the Egyptians striking a Hebrew, one of his own people. Looking all around and seeing no one, he struck the Egyptian dead and hid his body in the sand. The next day he went out and saw the Hebrews fighting. He asked the one in the wrong, 'Why are you attacking your neighbor?' 'Who made you a commander and judge over us?' The men replied. 'Are you going to kill me as you killed the Egyptian?' Then Moses became afraid and thought, what I did is certainly known. When Pharaoh heard about this, he tried to kill Moses, but Moses fled from Pharaoh and went to live in the land of Midian and sat down by a well. So, we can clearly see that the Quran relied on the book of Exodus for the story of Moses found within the pages of the Quran, which is not good for the Quran because the Quran claims to be the words of Allah, and yet we see the author of the Quran plagiarizing from other texts and, like I said, passing them off as divine revelations within the Quran. So Muslims, what are you going to do? Because, you tell me all the time that the Bible has been corrupted. Well, the author of the Quran didn't seem to think so, because he took stories from the Bible and put them in your text.